Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast.
It's great to be here.
I was walking through an airport lounge the other day, and I saw an ad for a global consulting firm. It was one of those big glossy posters.
No, I know the type.
Big bold letters printed over a generic photo of a diverse team laughing at a spreadsheet. And it said, "People are our greatest asset."
Of course. It's the golden rule of corporate branding, usually followed closely by, "We are a learning organization."
It's practically wallpaper at this point.
Yeah.
It's the thing you say in the annual report. But here's the thing, and this is exactly what we're digging into today. If you walked into the CEO's office right now and asked, okay, prove it. Put a dollar sign on that asset, show me the receipt, what happens?
Oh.
Because companies spend thousands, sometimes millions, on training programs, workshops, those endless library subscriptions. But is it actually doing anything? Or is it just a nice-to-have perk so everyone feels warm and fuzzy?
That is the multi-million-dollar question. For a long time, training or learning and development, it was seen as a black box. You put money in one end, you cross your fingers, and you hope productivity comes out the other.
An act of faith.
It was. But today, we're doing a deep dive into a really comprehensive piece by Felix Römer titled Upskilling ROI, Measuring the Impact of Employee Development Programs. And the mission here is pretty ruthless. We are moving past feeling good about learning and getting straight into the math.
Which is why I wanted to cover this.
Okay.
We aren't just treating this as an article. We're looking at it as a manual for modern professionals.
Right.
We need to understand how to connect that investment in skills to real business outcomes. Things that actually keep the lights on. Profitability, retention, risk mitigation.
Precisely. We aren't just, cheering for education today. We are looking at the hard mechanics of business efficiency. We are looking at how you turn a cost center into a profit engine.
So let's start with the why. Because training isn't new. Apprenticeships have existed since the Middle Ages. Why is this suddenly a hair-on-fire emergency for businesses right now?
It comes down to the landscape. We're in a kind of paradox. Depending on the sector, you have layoffs, but at the same time, you have a fiercely tight labor market for specific high-level skills.
Right.
You can't just go out and buy the talent you need anymore. It's too expensive or it frankly doesn't exist. But Römer points out something even more critical. He calls it the engagement crisis.
I saw this stat in the notes, and I actually had to double-check it because it seemed impossibly low.
It's pretty shocking.
According to the data Römer cites, only 23% of the global workforce feels engaged.
It's staggering, isn't it?
It's terrible. That means nearly 4 out of 5 people are just showing up, doing the bare minimum to not get fired, and going home. That's a massive productivity leak.
It is.
That's not a workforce. That's an audience.
It is. But that is where the opportunity lies. The source highlights a counterstat. 83% of workers believe that learning makes them more effective.
Okay.
So you have this massive gap. People want to be better at their jobs. They crave that competence, but they are totally checked out emotionally. The bridge between those two realities is upskilling.
So the argument is that if you feed that desire to learn, you fix the engagement problem. It feels a bit simple. Is there hard data to back that up?
There is. Römer points to Gallup data showing that organizations investing in development report 11% greater profitability.
11%.
But the real kicker is retention. They report double the retention rates of companies that don't prioritize learning.
Double.
Double.
Okay, that changes the conversation completely. Because now training stops being a cost center, a place where money goes to die and becomes a profit generator.
Yeah, that's it.
If you aren't training your people, you aren't just stalling their careers. You are actively hurting your bottom line by bleeding talent.
Exactly. You're paying a stagnation tax whether you realize it or not.
Okay, that sets the stakes. But I want to get into the mechanics. Because I think a lot of listeners might be thinking, okay, I buy the concept, but how do we prove it?
Right.
In my experience, measurement in HR usually just means tracking attendance. Did Bob watch the compliance video? Check. Done.
Right, the butts in seats metric? Or did they finish the module? That doesn't fly anymore. It tells you nothing about value. What's fascinating about Römer's work is that he introduces a framework called the measurement stack.
A stack.
It's designed to move you beyond just attendance.
I like the sound of that. A stack implies layers. Break it down for us.
It starts with a logic chain. You have 4 layers: activities, behaviors, performance, and outcomes. You have to climb the stack to get to the ROI. Most companies, they get stuck at the bottom.
Okay, let's walk through a real example to make this concrete. Let's say I'm running a customer support team. How does this stack apply to me?
Okay, good example. Let's look at activities first. This is the bottom layer. Did your support agents take the course on the new software? Did they pass the quiz?
The basics.
Necessary, but not sufficient. It just tells you they were present.
Okay, so that's the Bob watched the video layer. It proves compliance, but not competence. What's next?
Next is behaviors. This is where it gets interesting. Are they doing anything differently? If the training was about a new troubleshooting script, are they actually using that script on calls? You might verify this through call monitoring or, spot checks. You are looking for the application of knowledge.
So we've moved from learning to doing.
Correct. Then comes performance. This is the quantitative shift. Are they faster? Did the average handling time, the AHT, drop by 10%? Did the first call resolution rate go up?
The hard numbers.
This is where you start seeing efficiency.
And finally, outcomes.
The big picture. Did that improved performance lead to higher customer satisfaction scores? CSAT? Did it lead to increased renewals or upsells? Did we make more money or save more customers? That is the ROI.
That's the language the CFO speaks. But here's the trap I see companies falling into. To measure that change, to say handling time dropped by 10%, you need to know what the handling time was before you started.
You have hit on the single biggest point of failure, the baseline.
Right.
You cannot measure improvement if you don't know your current error rates or task completion times. The text is very firm on this. You have to set a target and measure your baseline before you launch the training. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
You're painting a target around the arrow after you've already shot it.
Perfectly said, yes.
The source gave a really cool example of this regarding an insurer.
Yes, this was a perfect example of a role-specific metric.
Yeah.
This insurer didn't just measure, did our staff learn about AI?
No.
They measured, did claim settlement times drop after the staff use AI-driven projects?
And that's a direct line to the customer. If I get my claim paid in 2 days instead of 2 weeks, I'm a happy customer. I renew my policy.
Exactly. And that affects the bottom line. It reduces the operational cost per claim.
Another metric I really liked was about tool adoption. We've all seen this. Company buys a fancy new piece of software, does a big launch training, everyone gets a login.
And then crickets.
And then 3 weeks later, nobody is logged in.
The classic shelfware problem. The software just sits on the shelf or in the cloud, gathering digital dust.
Right. So the source suggests tracking login frequency and feature usage. Like if you train a team on a remote desktop manager, you need to verify they're actually logging in and using it daily. If usage drops off after a week, your training failed or the tool is bad. Either way, you need to know.
That connects back to the behavior layer of the stack. But I want to push back on one thing. We are talking a lot about hard metrics time, logins, error rates.
Yeah.
But what about the softer side? Leadership, communication, empathy.
The stuff that usually gets dismissed as fluff because you can't put it in a spreadsheet.
It's often dismissed, but Römer argues you can measure it. You just need different tools. You use pulse surveys and sentiment analysis. If you run a leadership training program, don't just ask the leaders if they liked the lunch. Survey their teams 3 months later. Has clarity improved? Has morale shifted? Remember that 23% engagement stat?
Yeah.
Even a small lift in engagement scores is a strong signal. Because, as we know, engagement predicts retention.
Speaking of retention, let's follow the money. We talked about the business case generally, but let's talk about the actual cash value of keeping people.
Oh, yeah.
Because the source drops a very specific number here that made my jaw drop.
You're thinking of the healthcare example.
Yes. The text mentions that replacing a single staff, RN, or registered nurse, can cost roughly $52,350.
It's a staggering number.
But where does that number come from? Is that just the recruiter's fee? Because 52 grand feels like a lot of money just to hire someone.
It's a compound number. It includes the recruiting fees, sure. But think about the onboarding time. A new nurse isn't 100% productive on day one. They need supervision. So you're paying for the new nurse, plus the time of the senior nurse training them.
And the lost productivity.
Then there's the lost productivity while the seat was empty. Maybe you had to pay overtime to other staff to cover the shifts. It adds up incredibly fast.
So let's do the math. If I run a training program that costs, say, $10,000, but it prevents just 2 nurses from quitting.
You've saved over $100,000 in replacement costs. The program has paid for itself 10 times over.
Wow.
This is what we mean by real ROI. It's not abstract. It is money you did not have to wire to a headhunter. It is cash that stays in the business.
That is the cost avoidance strategy.
Exactly. And cost avoidance goes beyond just retention. The source highlights a fascinating concept about vendor spend. Imagine you're spending a fortune on an external marketing agency or an IT contractor to handle a specific slice of work.
Because you don't have the skills in-house. You're renting the talent.
Right. But if you upskill your internal team to do that work,
You fire the vendor.
you reduce or eliminate that external spend. And honestly, you often lower rework rates too, because your internal team knows the product and the culture better than an outsider ever could.
That's a direct line to profitability.
It is.
That's a really good point. There's one more hidden ROI mentioned, innovation signals. I love this concept. It's the idea that when teams are trained, they don't just do the old job better.
Yeah.
They start suggesting new ways to work.
Right. They start seeing connections they missed before. Maybe they suggest a new analytics use case, or they find a way to automate a manual process. You can't always predict what that innovation will be. It's serendipitous, but you can certainly attribute it to the new capabilities they've acquired. It's the unknown upside of training.
So we have the why, the engagement crisis. We have the how to measure the stack. Now let's talk about the what.
The program itself.
How do we actually build these programs so they don't suck? Because let's be honest, nobody, and I mean nobody wants to sit in a lecture hall for a week anymore.
No, and businesses can't afford that downtime. You can't take your sales team off the floor for a week. The source is very specific here. The future is short courses and micro-learning.
Microlearning. It sounds like a buzzword.
But
Is this just TikTok for corporate training?
In a way, yes, and that's a good thing. It's practical. It minimizes disruption. If you can deliver a high-impact lesson in 15 minutes a day, you speed up time to skill.
You're learning in the flow of work.
You are. You encounter a problem, you watch a 5-minute module on how to solve it, and you apply it immediately.
The source also talks about AI personalization here, which is great because I don't need to relearn the basics of Excel if I'm already an expert, but maybe I need help with one specific new formula.
Precisely. AI creates a custom curriculum for you. It respects the learner's time. If you know chapters 1 through 5, the AI skips them. It keeps the engagement high because you're always learning something new, not just reviewing what you already know.
Now, we have to talk about the mix of skills. We touched on this earlier, but the source emphasizes balancing hard skills, like data fluency or compliance with soft skills. Why is that balance so important? Can't we just focus on the tech?
You can't, because technology changes, but the need to collaborate doesn't. In fact, in the healthcare spotlight from the text, they make a fascinating connection.
Oh, right.
In healthcare, training isn't just about saving money, it links directly to patient KPIs.
Right. Things like wait times, readmission rates, patient satisfaction scores.
Exactly. If you train your staff on better communication or more efficient triage processes, which are soft skills, patients get treated faster, they understand their discharge instructions better, and they go home happier.
That's the ultimate ROI in that sector.
It's literal life and death efficiency.
The source also mentioned certification and stackable modules. I like this idea of stacking. It feels like gamification.
It gives employees a sense of progress. Instead of a year-long slog with no feedback, they finish a module, get a badge, finish another, get a certificate. It keeps that momentum going. It feeds back into that psychological need for competence we talked about at the start.
Now, I want to zoom out a bit. The source material included some really interesting visuals that give us a glimpse into the broader ecosystem. This isn't just about training for the jobs we have today.
No, it's about the jobs coming down the pipeline.
Right.
This is where we connect the dots to the SmartKeys context. The workplace is evolving so rapidly. One of the visuals specifically outlines the future of remote work and lists 5 key roles for 2026.
Yeah, I was looking at these titles. They sound like sci-fi, but I guess 2026 is basically tomorrow. AI prompt operations specialist.
Right. And let's be clear, this isn't just someone who knows how to type into ChatGPT. This is logic engineering.
Yeah.
Companies are going to need people who understand the architecture of large language models to get consistent, safe, high-quality output.
That's a technical skill set that needs to be built.
It does. Another one was cloud security automation engineer.
Okay.
Security is becoming automated, but you need humans to design and oversee those automated systems. You can't just set it and forget it. The threats are automated, so the defense must be too, but the strategy is human.
And customer success upstream manager. That sounds fancy. What does upstream mean in this context?
It's about being proactive. Traditional customer support is downstream. The problem happened, the customer is angry, now we fix it.
Reactive.
Upstream management is about looking at the data, predicting where the customer might struggle, and intervening before they even know they have a problem. It prevents churn.
So the argument here is you probably can't go out and hire a customer success upstream manager with 10 years of experience because the job didn't exist 10 years ago.
Exactly. You have to build that talent internally. If you aren't upskilling your current team to step into these roles, you are going to be left behind because the external talent pool just isn't there yet.
You're fishing in an empty pond.
You really are.
There was also a visual about AI regulation, the EU AI Act, algorithmic bias audits. This stuff is getting legal.
This connects back to risk. Training isn't just about productivity, it is about compliance. If your team uses AI tools but doesn't understand the new laws regarding data privacy or bias, you are opening yourself up to massive lawsuits. The new workplace laws visual makes it clear. 85% of workers will use AI, but there are strict regulations coming on transparency. You have to train for that, or you are walking into a minefield.
And briefly, there was that corporate crypto treasury visual. That seemed a bit niche.
It is niche, but it's growing. As global finance evolves, you have teams needing to understand decentralized finance protocols for cross-border payments. It's faster, cheaper, but complex.
Right.
Again, you can't just hope your finance team figures it out on Reddit. You need a structured learning path.
It really paints a picture of a world where learning is survival. It's not extra credit.
It is the core engine of adaptation. If you look at the go-to-market playbook visual as well, it shows how strategy shifts from foundational to execution. You need your team to be agile enough to move between these phases. Upskilling is what gives them that agility.
So what does this all mean for the listener? We've thrown a lot of stats, strategies, and futuristic job titles out there.
I think the final verdict is this. Measuring ROI allows you to make smart choices. It stops HR from being the party planning committee and turns them into a strategic business partner.
Right.
It helps you choose programs that actually cut hiring costs and speed up time to productivity. It takes the guesswork out of the budget.
It changes the conversation with the CFO. Instead of asking for money, you're promising a return.
Exactly. And I want to leave the listener with one provocative thought from the source material. We talk about retention saving that $52,000 nurse.
Yeah.
But consider the inverse. The source cites Acento. 94% of employees would stay longer when employers invest in development.
94%. That is basically everyone.
Virtually everyone. So the takeaway is, if you aren't training them, you are actively encouraging them to leave. You are practically packing their bags for them and holding the door open.
That is a sobering thought. You are training them to leave by not training them to stay.
Perfectly put.
So where do we start? If I'm a manager listening to this, and I'm overwhelmed by the measurement stack and the EU AI Act, what is step one?
Start small. Don't try to boil the ocean. Pick one role. Maybe it's your customer support reps or your junior developers. Define one metric you want to move, like reducing error rates or lowering handling time.
Okay.
Measure the baseline today. Run a short, targeted training pilot. Then measure the data.
Simple. Prove it works on a small scale, then ask for the big budget.
Exactly. Build the case brick by brick.
I love it. Practical, measurable, and essential.
It really is.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. I want to say a huge thank you to you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. We know your time is valuable, maybe even $52,000 valuable if you're a nurse
or more.
If you found this useful, please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss our next look into the future of work. And seriously, do yourself a favor and read the full article by Felix Römer. It's packed with even more details and those great visuals we discussed.
We've put the link right in the show notes for you.
Go check it out. Until next time, keep learning and keep measuring.
Goodbye, everyone.